cicada season. Back in Ontario now. This is the quince tree. I've been away for almost 3 months. It's August 23rd today, 2021. I just got home last night. This is what the backyard looks like now. Everything's grown like wild. Looks like a jungle back here. There's all the trees down there. Big grapevine here, producing lots of grapes. I'll go around to the side in a little bit and introduce my bonsai trees in training anyways, individually. And then we're gonna do a bunch of pruning around here just to make space for us and clear things up a little bit, take out a bunch of weeds. It's good to be home now finally, after a long summer away. Here's the bonsai benches. Everything's looking great. I'm gonna do some weed pruning and take a look at all these individually. We've got lots of growth everywhere. I'll introduce everything by its name or species when I look at them individually. Get through everything fairly quickly, just do some weeding. There's just a couple things that I want to prune up a little bit for size mostly. Get some light in. Got a little neglected, I think. That's all right. There's a little cedar. Forget which number that is. I'll add it later. Just gotta take out some weeds. That's about it. Took a weed out that had a huge root on it there. Took some finessing to get it out of the soil without too much damage to the roots of this tree. Another little one. I just pinched the tips off of most of these growing branches. Everything except for the top leaders here. Just pinched it back here, 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 and here, just to slow down the outward growth a little bit so that this can grow up. That's it for this one. You can see I've got a lot of work to do. I thinned out the grapevines a little bit so that they weren't growing into the stairs here, the walkway. There's this tree of heaven, it's called, growing right through the grate. The stairs here. I'm gonna gonna chop that back right down to the bottom. Maybe I'll turn it into a bonsai, I'm not sure. But it's got kind of a smell to it, so it's not that pleasant. It's got other names like the tree of hell or the stink tree, something like that. Grapes everywhere. I don't know where these other ones come from. I wanted to talk about each tree individually as I was weeding it and maybe doing a tiny bit of pruning or pinching on some things. But I don't really have time for that. I just want to get all these weeds out of here as quick as I can. And then maybe I can... Wow, these pawpaws have gone crazy. That's funny, this seed actually stayed on this one. I thought it would eventually pop off on its own. Looks like the branch or the leader tried to grow out of there but couldn't. So it just died off and sent up a sucker. I don't know if it's still alive in there. I don't know. It's pretty interesting what it looks like inside the seed there anyways. Yeah, I think that is still alive, it just couldn't open up. It's funny. Maybe it's not alive. I don't know, I think there's some green in there. Let's see what happens. Anyways, dogwood died off last year. I chopped it back and it threw out 2 suckers from the root system. That's good. I'm just amazed by these pawpaws. They've really grown huge for being just seedlings. When I left, looks like they all survived. My wife did a great job keeping everything alive. I told her not to worry about things too much. Didn't ask her to weed anything or do any pruning. She's really busy. She's doing her comprehensive exams for her PhD, so she definitely doesn't have time to be putting the effort that I do into these trees. It's my hobby, not hers, so anyway, she really did quite amazing. Even this ash tree back here has a bunch of growth after dying off all the way up here. Nothing's grown off that branch. This is a poplar that's sprung out of the pot that I had. I'm pretty sure that's a little balsam fir. But this poplar wasn't even a seedling when I left. It's all grown up. Everything looks so great here. My crown of thorns has got flowers coming out of it now. Little willow leaf ficus, more thuya cedar trees. Got maples. This is a birch. Not quite sure what this is. I thought it was a birch originally, but it looks looks different, not quite sure. A little avocado still hanging on. This ficus, pretty sure it's a tiger bark ficus, maybe microcarpa. Looking great. More maples. Anyways, I won't go through everything individually just yet. I'll do all the weeding, and I'll cut back a bunch of this big growth around the side here. You can see this spindle tree has gone out of control. This is a redbud tree that's just grown like crazy. I pruned it. Everything that I pruned back in the spring has grown really just in leaps and bounds. Like, that's probably close to 2 meters growth just in the last 3 months. From here all the way hard to look all the way in there with these huge leaves on this tree. But I'm pretty sure, yeah, wow. That's where I did the prune just three and a half months ago, probably. In the spring, actually, so probably around 4 months ago I made that cut. Been gone for just under 3 months since the last video, and that is just insane amounts of growth. At least 2 meters. There's another cut that I made, and look at the thickness of these branches. Almost as thick as my thumb already. It's branched off. That one's probably 2.5 meters long. That's crazy. And all up there, this is the big grapevine here. Got lots of grapes coming off. They look just about ready, I would say. I'm gonna harvest a bunch of them, maybe try and make some wine. Apparently this is a good species for winemaking. Alright, that's it for now. Now I'll introduce a little bit more. This is a Rose of Sharon tree that I did also prune. Quince tree, pruned. Everything's taken off. Really healthy. All the stuff that I pruned has really responded well to that. Well, this, roses, a bunch of them have come out. I gotta deadhead those. Still got some more coming. This is the persimmon tree that I pruned. It looks like a good almost 2 meters. Good 1.5 meters of solid growth everywhere. Up at the top, those long shoots are, I think that's all new growth, yeah. Some of those are 3.5 meters long probably. Three meters for sure. That's wild. The cedar that I pruned responded well. Lots of long growth on it. It's another spindle tree in the corner. Spindle. That's one of the apricots. Lots of new growth. There's the pear tree that didn't get any fruit, but responded really well to the pruning. Another apricot. The structure of these trees is going to be amazing for next year. Even got some thistle there. Some of them have already gone past flowering. Some of them are just blooming now. There's all the little trees. Pre-bonsai. There wasn't too much weeding to be done. They're all growing really well. This one little pawpaw didn't make it, but basically everything else did. First thing I'm gonna do is prune back this spindle bush here to get more sun into my trees. That's done with the spindle bush. I just kind of give it a hedge prune. Nothing structural. I'll do that in the spring. I just wanted to shorten all the branches so I can get more sun. I cut off a good 1.5 meters of some of these. They were coming out over top of the bench. Now there's lots of room. Probably end up bringing the rest of the trees over here. There's a lot of shade on this side. Sun comes up here and goes this way through the sky. These could use a little more sun in the afternoon probably. They're getting shaded up by this apricot. I'll cut just a few of these back, but I don't want to do anything major until the spring. Took this much off of the apricot. A couple bigger branches than I originally thought, but I just took off this wall of branches here. This was a pretty thicker cut. We'll see how that heals. This was an even bigger one. I don't have any cut paste or anything. I'm gonna monitor this and see how they heal. I really wanted to air layer this large one. Maybe I can still do it this late in the year, but wait to harvest it till next year. Maybe I'll give that a try because those are gonna get pruned off next spring anyways. Next I'm gonna tackle this eastern redbud tree a little bit. I want to shorten these so that we can walk through a bit easier. I'll leave all that up there for shade and privacy for now. Another hard prune in the spring. That's what I cut from the redbud. Kept most of it. It's got a ton of growth on it this summer. I just cut off what was in the way of walking here. Cut it back. They were growing out to past here, some of them. This will be the access to the backyard. Trees to the right. Next, I think I'll do a bunch of weeding before I cut anything. Actually, I'm gonna cut that tree of heaven or tree of hell, depending on what you want to call it. Same tree, ironically. Cut that back first so we can walk through our staircase again. Cut that back to clear up our back staircase here. working on this area a little bit. Getting a lot of the weeds out. All across there, here, around here. Next thing I want to do is tackle this area. Get a bunch of these weeds and other plants out of there. Open up the rose bush. Deadhead all these spent flowers so that I can focus on pushing out however many flowers it will before the end of the year. Oh, it's grown pretty tall. It's got one flower bud on it. Maybe a couple more will form. We'll get at least 2 before the year is done. I didn't get too far before it started raining. It's a bunch on and off for the next week or so. Got some of the weeds out from there. Took the old flower heads off. Deadheaded the plant. There's still 2 more blooms to come out, as I said earlier. Peaceful out here underneath this umbrella. One thing I want to do actually is shorten these quince branches, just partially so that they don't catch on the umbrella and the cable over there. Get them shaped up a little bit for the fall winter season. Stopped working once it started raining yesterday, but I had left this one flower bud. It was only a bud yesterday. Today it's open. Maybe I'll leave it up one more day. I'll just get rid of it now. I'm kind of tired of this stuff. This is a common persimmon apparently. I don't know if it'll fruit. I don't know how it started growing here, just in the cracks in the sidewalk. In the pavement there, the stones. Because this is a Japanese persimmon, I think. So maybe it actually I don't know, maybe it's throwing up a sucker from underneath the roots, or maybe something else entirely. I'm gonna try and put this in a pot if I can salvage the roots. It'll be cool to grow a persimmon tree. It's got a pretty cool leaf and growth characteristic. Nice looking bark already. We'll see. So this is just my winter creeper. It's kind of an accent plant. I don't know, maybe it can be its own little bonsai eventually one day. I just pulled it out of the ground when I moved into this place. This long growth is bugging me, so I'm gonna cut it back. Just get this thing into shape so it's not taking up too much space. I guess I can film the pruning. I'm gonna have to do it one-handed. I forgot my phone holder inside. It's still packed away somewhere. So I'm gonna do some structural pruning in the spring. I don't want to take too much off right now, just get rid of some of this long leggy growth. Maybe I'll take even more of that because I want it to start growing up. There's a little bud down here. Maybe you can see it. And then another little branch growing off of it. So actually I'm gonna take it to there for now. This one I'll just cut the tip off. This one can come into here. This one I'll probably get rid of entirely next year. For now I can just go back to one leaf. This one I'll let grow out as the leader maybe. Just go like that and like that for now. It's a bit more manageable. Bring it right back to its bare structure in the springtime and let it grow, but I'll let it heal up before it gets ready for dormancy in the winter. I've never had one of these through the winter before, so I don't know if it'll all survive in its current form or if it'll die back. But I'd like to try and keep some of this. It's kind of forming a trunk, a bark. We'll see what it turns into. At the very least, it'll just be an accent plant for representing my part of the world, which is southern Ontario in the Hamilton area. Got the cuttings from that winter creeper pruning potted up. 6 of them. Let's see if they survive and grow some roots. So I will eventually go through all my trees individually, but there's a couple I need to take care of right now. This one's getting a little too top heavy. I like the movement at the bottom, and then it's just a long straight branch all the way up. So I can shorten it back about halfway for now, cut it back more in the spring. I just need it to be less top heavy. I don't want to cut it too far back. I want to keep at least this nice big leaf to keep taking in sun, because I'm not expecting it to grow anymore, just getting it ready for the winter basically. Take it way up there for now. In the spring I'll shorten it back to down here somewhere. There's a lot of buds that can take over in this area. This is a maple of some kind, maybe a silver maple. Put a couple rocks in the bottom. It's still a little bit top heavy, but I don't want to take any more than that off for now. This is another maple that was growing out of a dead. This was actually originally just a twig, I think, that had been buried in the ground, rooted itself. Shot this tree out of it. I think I'm gonna cut it back to here for now. Take some vigor out of the top. There's another little one growing here. but it died off there. There's a little branch growing out there now. I think it has a viable bud right at the top there. Some more really small ones down here. So it's got good leaves. Down to here, I'll just chop the top off. It's got a pretty cool root system on it. Pretty excited about this one. It's got a lot of buds, dormant ones along the trunk here. Eventually, in the spring maybe, I'd like to chop it off around here. Be about that size to start with. Grow some branches off that. For now, I'll let it winter like this. I'll do that in the spring. I'm not going to do anything to all these little pines, but I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it's technically double flushed. I think it has in these two spots. I didn't chop these back at all, but I've been away for 3 months. They weren't like this until pretty recently. I've been getting picture updates. So I don't know if I can treat these as double flush pines, but I think they're a eastern white pine or something like that. Pretty sure this is a birch, one of my only surviving birch trees. I think it's a birch anyways. For this one, I think I'm just gonna cut back to here. Take out some of its vigor. Let these other side branches catch up a little bit. I'm gonna let that one grow on. I think that's a good way to leave it to winter. It's got a couple buds way at the bottom. Kind of like suckers, I guess. Pretty sure this is a birch. I'm gonna have to look it up now to make sure. You can see which ones are flopping around a little bit too much, a little top heavy. I trimmed up a couple of them. It's just about 20 minutes later now, after that rain. The sun's shining, warm and humid. Water's already drying off of the leaves, evaporating, transpiring. whatever. Leaves are already drying up. I didn't water anything today. It was still wet from an overnight rain. It won't need to be watered today. There's my week fertilizer solution I give to the plants every day. We'll have to wait till tomorrow to get fertilized. It wasn't very windy, so these tall ones didn't flop over, but I'm gonna want to take probably the top 3 leaves off of that one. Leave the rest over winter like that. I need to shorten my dogwood as well. Got the rose bush cleared up pretty well. It's even got a flower that bloomed. Another one coming out soon. Need to prune back some of this spindle bush, make some more room for the roses for next year. My next focus is pruning back this persimmon tree a little bit, getting some more space for humans in the yard. And then I'll prune back this spindle as well, the variegated one. Alright, I've got the persimmon tree taken care of. I'm gonna leave all these long shoots. Let them gather as much energy as they can till winter. They'll overwinter like that, and then I'll do a fairly hard prune again in the spring, get it ready for next year's growth. I'll have to look up the fruiting schedule for this tree. I think it was just too young. Some fruits started to form this year, I think, before I left, but nothing finished. Either it's too young of a tree or I pruned it too hard. I'll have to look it up if anybody knows. If persimmon fruits grow on 1 or 2 year old wood, that'd be good to know. Otherwise, it's grown a lot this year, really filled out. I'm gonna leave this garden phlox. It's pretty nice, we like it, so I'm gonna let it finish flowering all around. The pollinators like it too. And then I'll chop it back like the rest of it I did in there. Next step is to trim this back. It's very overgrown. Try and open up this cedar a little bit. I just noticed that there's actually 3 seedlings from this cedar growing, which is awesome. I noticed that there was seeds on it from last year. You can see one there. It doesn't look like it's... Oh yeah, there's some more. We've got some fresh seeds this year as well. Cones, whatever you want to call them. Anyways, I'll pot up those little ones. And we've got lots of little maples and everything all around everywhere. Try and get some more sun on this cedar until the winter. One thing I forgot to do the other day was come in with the pruners and give these nice, fresh, clean cuts. I just pulled off the old flowers to deadhead them. And I was gonna come in with the pruners and clean them up, but I forgot to do that, so I'll do that now. Just removing everything back to a live bud. You can see one starting to come out there. Might be able to get some more growth out of these this year. If not, they'll help to gain a lot of energy for next year's growth. Little buds popping out of these already. Pretty sure I deadheaded that. Can't really see the scar. Just go like that. Alright, I think that's enough. Next thing I want to do, actually I can show you first that I pruned up all this spindle. Cut it away here so that I can see the side of this cedar and that sun can get in. Prune down the height of it quite far so that all these are getting their own light. It was growing quite a bit this way as well, so that really opened up my sumac. A lot of good growth in here this summer. This thistle I'm leaving for now. Harvested a few of the spent flowers, but not totally opened, dried out yet. See if I can do anything with that. Even though I'm not finished weeding and pruning back large growth in the yard yet, I do want to go ahead and do some major work on my ficus microcarpa, or tiger bark ficus.